The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. How to Tell a True War Story. This is true. I had a buddy in Vietnam. His name was Rat Kiley, but everybody called him Rat. A friend of his gets killed, so about a week later, Rat sits down and writes a letter to this guy's sister. Rat tells her what a great brother she had, how together the guy was, a #1 pal and comrade. A real soldier. Rat says. Then he tells a few stories to make the point, how her brother would always volunteer for stuff nobody else would volunteer for in a million years. Dangerous stuff like doing recon or going out in these really badass night patrols. Stainless steel balls, Rat tells her. The guy was a little crazy, for sure, but crazy in a good way. A real daredevil. Because he liked the challenge of it, he liked testing himself. Just man against gook. A great, great guy, Rat says. Anyway, it's a terrific letter, very personal and touching. Rat almost bawls writing it. He gets all teary, telling about the good times they had together, how about her brother made the war seem almost fun. Always raising hell and lighting up vials and bringing smoke to bear every which way. A great sense of humor, too. Like the time at this river when he went fishing with a whole damn crate of hand grenades. Probably the funniest thing in world history, Rat says. All that gore, about 20 zillion dead gookfish. Her brother had the right attitude. He knew how to have a good time. On Halloween, this really hot, spooky night, the dude paints up his body all different colors and puts on this weird mask and hikes over to a vial and goes trick-or-treating almost stark naked, just boots and balls and an M16. A tremendous human being, Rat says. Pretty nutso sometimes, but you could trust him with your life. And then the letter gets very sad and serious. Rat pours his heart out. He says he loved the guy. He says the guy was his best friend in the world. They were like soulmates. He says like twins or something. They had a whole lot in common, he tells the guy's sister. He'll look her up when the war's over. So what happens? Rat mails a letter. He waits 2 months. The dumb coos never writes back. A true war story is never moral. It does not instruct, not encourage virtue, nor suggest models of proper human behavior, nor restrain men from doing the things men have always done. If a story seems moral, do not believe it. If at the end of a war story you feel uplifted, or if you feel that some small bit of rectitude have been salvaged from the larger waste, then you have been made the victim of a very old and terrible lie. There is no rectitude whatsoever. There is no virtue as a first rule of thumb. Therefore, you can tell a true war story by its absolute and uncompromised allegiance to obscenity and evil. Listen to Rat Kiley. Coos, he says. He does not say bitch. He certainly does not say woman or girl. He says coos. Then he spits and stares. He's 19 years old. It's too much for him. So he looks at you with those big, sad, gentle, killer eyes and says coos. Because his friend is dead, and because he is so incredibly sad and true, she never wrote back. And you can tell a true war story if it embarrasses you. If you don't care for obscenity, you don't care for the truth. If you don't care for the truth, watch how you vote. Send guys to war, they come home talking dirty. Listen to Rat. Jesus Christ, man, I write this beautiful fucking letter, I slave over it, and what happens? The dumb coos never writes back. The dead guy's name was Kurt Lemon. What happened was, we crossed a muddy river and marched west into the mountains, and on the 3rd day we took a break, along a trail junction in deep jungle. Right away Lemon and Rat Kiley start goofing. They didn't understand about the spookiness. They were kids, they just didn't know. A nature hike, they thought, not even a war. So they went off into the shade of some giant trees, quadruple canopy, no sunlight at all, and they were giggling and calling each other Yellow Mother and playing a silly game they'd invented. The game involved smoke grenades, which were harmless unless you did stupid things, and what they did was pull out the pin and stand a few feet away and play catch under the shade of those huge trees. Whoever chickened out was a Yellow Mother, and if nobody chickened out, the grenade would make a light popping sound, and they'd be covered with smoke, and they'd laugh and dance around and then do it again. It's all exactly true. It happened to me nearly 20 years ago, and I still remember the trail junction, and those giant trees, and a soft dripping sound somewhere beyond the trees. I remember the smell of moss. Up in the canopy there were tiny white blossoms, but no sunlight at all. And I remember the shadows spreading out under the trees where Kurt Lemon and Rat Kiley were playing catch with smoke grenades. Mitchell Sanders sat flipping his yo-yo, Norman Bowker and Kiowa and Dave Jensen were dozing, or half-dozing, and all around us were those ragged green mountains. Except for the laughter, things were quiet. At one point I remember Mitchell Sanders turned and looked at me, not quite nodding, as if to warn me about something, as if he already knew. Then after a while he rolled up his yo-yo and moved away. It's hard to tell what happened next. They were just goofing. There was a noise, I suppose, which must have been the detonator. So I glanced behind me and watched Lemon step from the shade into bright sunlight. His face was suddenly brown and shining, a handsome kid really, sharp gray eyes, lean and narrow-waisted, and when he died it was almost beautiful. The way the sunlight came round him and lifted him up and sucked him high into the tree full of moss and vines and white blossoms. In any war story, but especially a true one, it's difficult to separate what happened from what seemed to happen. What seems to happen becomes its own happening and has to be told that way. The angles of vision are skewed. When a booby trap explodes, you close your eyes and duck and float outside yourself. When a guy dies like Kurt Lemon, you look away and then look back for a moment and then look away again. The pictures get jumbled. You tend to miss a lot. And then afterwards, when you go tell about it, there is always this surreal seemingness, which makes the story seem untrue, but which in fact represents the hard and exact truth as it seemed. In many cases, a true war story cannot be believed. If you believe it, be skeptical. It's a question of credibility. Often the crazy stuff is true, and the normal stuff isn't, because the normal stuff is necessary to make you believe the truly incredible craziness. In other cases, you can't even tell a true war story. Sometimes it's just beyond telling. I heard this one, for example, from Mitchell Sanders. It was near dusk, and we were sitting at my forecastle along a wide, muddy river north of Quang Nagi. I remember how peaceful the twilight was. A deep pinkish red spilled out on the river, which moved without sand, and in the morning we could cross the river and march west into the mountains. The occasion was right for a good story. God's truth, Mitchell Sanders said. A 6-man patrol goes up into the mountains on a basic listening post operation. The idea is to spend a week up there. Just lie low and listen for enemy movement. They got a radio along, so if they hear anything suspicious, anything, they're supposed to call in artillery or gunships, whatever it takes. Otherwise, they keep strict field discipline. Absolute silence. They just listen. Sanders glanced at me to make sure I had the scenario. He was playing with his yo-yo, dancing it with short, tight little strokes of the wrist. His face was blank in the dusk. We're talking regulation, by the book, LP. These 6 guys, they don't say boo for a solid week. They don't got tongues, all ears. Right, I said. Understand me? Invisible. Sanders nodded. Affirm, he said. Invisible. So what happens is these guys get themselves deep in the bush, all camouflaged up, and they lie down and wait, and that's all they do. Nothing else. They lie down there for 7 straight days and just listen. Man, I'll tell you, it's spooky. This is the mountains. You don't know spooky till you've been there. Jungle, sort of, except it's way up in the clouds, and there's always this fog, like rain, except it's not raining. Everything's all wet and swirly and tangled up, and you can't see jack. You can't find your own pecker to piss with. Like you don't even have a body. Serious spooky. You just go with the vapors. The fog sort of takes you in. And the sounds, man, the sounds carry forever. You hear stuff nobody should ever hear. Sanders was quiet for a second, just working the yo-yo, and he smiled at me. So after a couple of days, the guys start hearing this real sort of kind of whacked out music. Weird echoes and stuff, like radio or something. But it's not a radio. It's this strange gook music that comes right out of the rocks. Far away, sort of, but right up close, too. They try to ignore it, but it's lingering post, right? But it's a listening post, right? So they listen. And every night they keep hearing the crazy-ass gook concert. All kinds of chimes and xylophones. I mean, this is wilderness. No way it can be real. But there it is. Like the mountains are tuned into fucking Radio Hanoi. Naturally, they get nervous.